She didn't look at me when she spoke, just stared at the window, where the last bit of evening was bleeding into the glass. Her voice was low, thoughtful. You make me feel alive in quiet ways. I didn't answer. Maybe I couldn't. It was late, the office mostly empty, and everything that should have felt ordinary felt off. The hum of the old ceiling fan. The faint clink of her bracelet as she shifted a folder on the desk. Even the air between us carried a kind of weight that didn't belong to work anymore. Her name was Elena, though no one said it out loud in the office. Everyone called her Mrs. Hart. She carried herself like someone who knew exactly how much space she took up, and still apologized for it sometimes with a smile. Mid-40s, poised, elegant, but the kind of elegance that came from surviving things, not from money. And me, I was just the assistant. The one who stayed late, fixed the printer, sent the follow-up emails no one read. I told myself I was here because I needed the job. But that wasn't true anymore. The truth was her. She was sitting on the edge of her desk now, one ankle crossed over the other. Her skirt fell just above the knee, the kind of fabric that caught the light. She didn't fidget, but there was a stillness about her, the kind that hides nerves behind control. Do you ever feel like you're watching your own life from the outside? She asked suddenly. I looked up from the papers I was pretending to organize. Sometimes, I said. My voice sounded steadier than I felt. She smiled faintly, not the polite one she used for clients, but a smaller one. Sadder, maybe? I used to think that stopped when you got older. It doesn't. I didn't know what to say to that. So I didn't say anything. Silence filled the room again. It wasn't awkward, not really, more like the kind that makes you aware of your own heartbeat. Her perfume lingered in the air, soft, familiar. It mixed with the faint smell of paper and ink. I caught myself memorizing it, like I might need it later. She stood up and walked closer, holding out a folder. Could you drop this off before you leave? Our hands brushed. Just that. But something shifted, quick, electric, impossible to ignore. Her fingers grazed mine, light as breath, and she paused. Looked up. Her eyes, gray-green, tired around the edges, met mine. Too long. Long enough. Either of us spoke. The office clock ticked somewhere behind her. You're quiet tonight, she said. So are you. That earned me another small smile, this one real. She tilted her head, studying me. There was something unspoken there, something just past the edge of decency, of what either of us would admit. She exhaled softly, almost a laugh. You shouldn't look at me like that. I'm not looking at you like anything, I said, though my voice betrayed me. She glanced toward the door, then back at me. Yes, you are. The lights flickered once, old wiring. The spell broke for half a second, but neither of us moved. She reached for the folder again, our fingers nearly touching a second time, and that's when the sound came. A sharp knock on the office door. Both of us turned, startled. Through the frosted glass, a shadow lingered, tall, familiar. Her husband's voice, muffled but clear. Elena? You still in there? The air froze. Her hand was still inches from mine. She didn't look at me this time. Just whispered, barely audible. Don't say a word. And then she smiled, practiced, calm, as she opened the door. End of part 1. To be continued. The next morning, she acted as if nothing had happened. A simple nod in the hallway. The same calm smile. A stack of reports left neatly on my desk. No mention of the knock, of her husband's voice, or of how her hand had nearly reached for mine before everything froze. Still, something between us had changed. She was careful now. Too careful. When she spoke to me, it was always from a step farther away. When I handed her something, she made sure our fingers didn't brush. But distance only made me notice her more. I told myself I wasn't thinking about her that way. That she was married, older, my boss's wife, off limits in every possible sense. But memory doesn't care about rules. It replayed in flashes. Her perfume, the way her voice softened when she said my name, the pause before she opened that door. Later that week, We were alone again, working late. The office had that after-hours quiet that makes you aware of every small sound, the soft hum of computers cooling down, the scratch of her pen against paper, the faint click of her ring as she tapped it absent-mindedly against her mug. "Do you always stay this late?" she asked, not looking up. "Only when you do," I said before I could stop myself. Her pen stopped. She lifted her gaze slowly, and for a second, I wished I could take it back, not because it was wrong, but because it was true. There was something vulnerable in her eyes then, something she didn't usually let show. "My husband used to work late too," she said quietly. "He still does. Just somewhere else now." The way she said it, somewhere else, it didn't sound like another office. It sounded like a distance that had no name. I nodded, unsure how to respond. She smiled faintly, but it didn't reach her eyes. "You're lucky, you know, to still believe in beginnings." "I don't know if I do," I said. "Then you're too young not to." The words hung there, close enough to touch. She stood, stretching slightly, her blouse pulling just enough to reveal the soft outline of her collarbone. When she moved closer, the faint warmth of her body reached me before her voice did. "You missed a button," she said softly. Her fingers hovered near my shirt, almost touching, but not quite. The air between us thickened, not with intention, but with restraint. Her breath brushed my neck as she looked up at me. "There," she whispered, though she hadn't fixed anything. I should have stepped back. Said something? Anything. But I couldn't. She didn't either. For a long moment, the only sound was the soft tick of the clock and the uneven rhythm of our breathing. Then she turned away, gathering her papers with deliberate calm. "You should go home, Daniel," she said. "It's late." I hesitated by the door. "Will you be all right?" She didn't look at me. "I'm always all right." But as I left, I caught the reflection of her face in the window, and she looked anything but. Before the door closed, she called out softly, almost too quiet to hear, "Thank you for staying." And that was enough to keep me thinking about her long after I should have stopped. End of part 2, to be continued, ***, the boss's wife said. "You make me feel alive in quiet ways." Part 3, heightening suspense. Rain had been falling since morning, steady, patient, the kind that made everything slower. Most of the office had cleared out early. Power flickered twice. By 5:30 it was just us again, trapped inside the glass walls of quiet. Elena stood by the window, watching the rain streak down. "I used to love storms," she said softly. "Now they just make me feel small." I was sitting at the edge of her desk, pretending to read through an email I'd already finished. "You're not small," I said. She turned her head, one brow lifting. "You shouldn't say things like that." "I didn't mean yes, you did." Her voice was gentle, not accusing. She moved closer, slow enough to give me time to look away. I didn't. The storm outside deepened. Thunder rolled somewhere distant. Her hand rested on the edge of the desk beside me. I could feel the warmth radiating from her skin, close enough that if I breathed too deeply, I'd touch her shoulder. "You ever wonder," she said quietly, "how something starts? The exact moment?" I swallowed. "You mean like this?" Her eyes flicked up to meet mine. "Don't do that." "What?" "Name it." She smiled, small, nervous. "If we name it, it becomes real." A sudden buzz cut through the silence, her phone vibrating across the desk. The screen lit up with a message. "Dinner tonight?" I saw the name before she turned it over, Mark Hart. Her husband. She looked down, expression unreadable. "He remembers sometimes," she murmured. "Usually when it's convenient." The guilt hit me like static, sharp, invisible, everywhere at once. She noticed. "Don't," she said. "It's not your fault." "Maybe not. But this," I gestured between us, words catching before I could finish. She stepped closer. "This didn't start tonight." Her perfume drifted through the air again, warm, familiar, grounding. My heartbeat thudded unevenly against my ribs. Then when did it? I asked. The day you stopped calling me Mrs. Hart. That made her laugh softly, and I realized how close we were, inches, maybe less. Her hand brushed mine, and neither of us pulled away this time. Her breath trembled slightly as she spoke. We shouldn't, I know. But neither of us moved. Then, the sharp click of heels in the hallway. Voices. Laughter. Someone heading our way. She stiffened instantly. I stood, instinctively stepping back just as her assistant pushed the door open. Oh. Sorry, Mrs. Hart, didn't realize you were still here. Elena smiled, practiced, effortless. Just finishing up. What is it? Just needed your signature. The assistant barely looked at me, but I could feel her curiosity linger for a second too long. When she left, the door closed softly behind her. Elena exhaled, finally letting the tension go. Her voice dropped to a whisper. See? We keep almost being caught. Maybe that's the problem. Or the reason, I said. She looked up then, and whatever restraint had been holding her together cracked just slightly. Her hand found my wrist, not enough to pull, just enough to make me stay. Daniel, she whispered, almost pleading. Please, don't make me remember this later. But she didn't let go. And I didn't move. Outside, thunder rumbled again, closer this time, as if the whole world was holding its breath with us. End of part 3, to be continued, the boss's wife said. You make me feel alive in quiet ways. Part 4, nearing the climax, the storm hadn't stopped. 3 days later, it still lingered, gray skies, wet pavement, air heavy with that restless calm before the next downpour. She'd called me into her office again. No reason this time. Just asterisk. Could you come by for a minute? Asterisk. When I stepped inside, the lights were dim. The blinds half drawn. She wasn't behind her desk, she was standing near the window, arms crossed, watching the street below. You're avoiding me, she said without turning. I thought that's what you wanted. A pause. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. She turned then, slowly, eyes tired but sharp. You think I'm cruel, don't you? No. I swallowed. I think you're scared. Something flickered across her face. Not anger. Something softer, more dangerous. Scared of what, Daniel? She asked. Of wanting something you can't have. She let out a short laugh, more breath than sound. You think I don't know how that feels? I think you've forgotten. Her jaw tightened, then quietly. You don't know what it's like to lose everything you built just to feel something again. I stepped closer. Then tell me. She shook her head, but her breath hitched slightly as I did. The space between us thinned until I could feel the faint warmth radiating from her body, the scent of her perfume threading through the air, jasmine and something darker beneath it. I shouldn't have let it go this far, she whispered. But you did. She looked up at me, eyes searching, conflicted. You make me forget the rules. That's the problem. I reached out, without thinking, and brushed a strand of hair from her face. My fingers lingered for a heartbeat too long. Her eyes fluttered shut, just for a moment. Elena, I said, her name soft, reverent. She opened her eyes again, and for the first time, she didn't look away. You shouldn't say my name like that. How should I say it? She didn't answer. Instead, she stepped forward, close enough that her shoulder brushed my chest. Her voice came low, near my ear. You're too young to know what you're doing to me. Then tell me to stop. She didn't. The rain hit harder against the window now, each drop loud in the silence. Her breathing matched mine, uneven, careful. Her hand rose, trembling slightly, and pressed against my chest. This, she whispered, can't happen. But it already is. Her eyes searched mine, desperate and drawn at once. You don't understand, then make me. That broke something in her. The tension, the restraint, the quiet pretending, all of it. She reached up, fingers brushing my jaw, and for a second the world narrowed to the warmth of her touch and the space left between us. Her lips parted, just slightly, enough to make every nerve in my body strain toward her. And then a voice, muffled but clear, called from outside the office. Elena? You in there? It was him. Her husband. Again. She froze. My breath caught. Her hand stayed against my chest, trembling now. Her eyes, wide, frantic, met mine. Don't move, she whispered. The doorknob turned. And in that split second, before the door opened, before the lie we were about to tell, she leaned in, her breath brushing my lips. Whatever happens next, she murmured, don't look away. End of part 4, to be continued, the boss's wife said. You make me feel alive in quiet ways. Part 5, the twist, the door never opened. Her husband's voice lingered in the hallway, followed by the sound of retreating footsteps. She stood perfectly still until silence returned, her hand still flat against my chest, my heartbeat thudding beneath her palm. Then, slowly, she stepped back. Her voice came quiet, almost hoarse. That was too close. I didn't move. He didn't see anything. That's not the point, she said. Her tone cracked on the edge of something that wasn't anger, maybe fear. Maybe something worse. She turned toward the window again, arms folded, but the distance didn't feel like safety anymore. It felt like punishment. Elena, don't. Her voice sharpened. Please, Daniel, don't say my name right now. The way she said please, it hit harder than any shout could. I hesitated, unsure if I should stay or leave. And then she said it, the sentence that tilted everything. He knows. I froze. What? She looked over her shoulder, eyes glassy but controlled. Mark. He's known for weeks that something's changed. He doesn't say it directly, but I see it in the way he watches me. The way he asks about you. The air in the room felt thinner. Then why call me in tonight? Her lips parted as if to answer, but no sound came. Finally she said, because I wanted to see if I still could. Her honesty hit like a bruise. I took a step toward her, trying to read her face. You mean me? She shook her head. I mean feel. That broke something in me, all the restraint, all the logic. I reached out and caught her wrist gently. You don't have to test yourself like that. She didn't pull away this time. Her pulse beat fast under my thumb. Her gaze lifted to mine. You think you're different. That what you feel is simple. It's not simple, I said. It's real. Real? She gave a trembling laugh. You think real survives the morning? Real survives the guilt? Then tell me to leave. Her silence said everything. For a moment, the rain outside quieted, as if the world was listening. Her breath caught, uneven, shallow, and she whispered, I read the file. I blinked. What file? She looked away. Your application. You said you needed this job to pay for school. But you didn't mention that your father worked with my husband once. That he was fired. For taking the blame for something Mark did. I felt the blood drain from my face. How do you know that? Because I was there. Her voice broke. And I did nothing. The distance between us was gone again, but for a different reason now, not desire, not temptation, but the shock of truth shared too late. She stepped closer, trembling. Maybe that's why I saw you. Maybe that's why I couldn't stop. Elena. She shook her head. No. You don't understand. Everything between us was a mistake waiting to happen. Then why are you still standing this close? I asked. Her breath caught, her lips parting just slightly. Because I don't know how to stop anymore. For a second, either of us breathed. And then she whispered, barely audible. If he finds out what I've done, what we've done. She didn't finish. But when she looked up, her eyes said the rest. It's already too late. End of part 5. To be continued, the boss's wife said. You make me feel alive in quiet ways. Part 6. The climax. The office was empty again. The city outside muted under rain and streetlight. She'd called me back, this time without words, just a message, *. Come in. Please! When I stepped inside, the air felt different, heavy, waiting. Elena stood near her desk, hands braced against its edge. The blinds were half closed, letting slivers of gold light cut across her face. She looked tired. Beautiful. Terrified. Lock the door, she said softly. I did. For a long moment we didn't move. Then she said, You should hate me. I shook my head. I don't. You should, she repeated, her voice breaking. For lying. For pretending I didn't know who you were when you walked in that first week. I took a step closer. You knew? I recognized your last name. I thought you were just a coincidence. But when I saw you, she exhaled, her voice trembling. You looked like your father used to, when he still believed the world was fair. I couldn't look at her then. You could have told me. I was afraid you'd leave. Silence. A long, aching one. When I finally looked up, she was watching me, her eyes glassy, rimmed red. I thought I could fix something by caring for you. But then it stopped being about guilt. Her voice dropped. It became this. She stepped closer, slow, uncertain. Her hand rose, fingertips grazing my jaw. Every nerve in my body burned to close the distance. Elena, I whispered. You don't have to explain. I do, she said. Because this, whatever we've built between us, it's real and wrong, and I can't tell which part scares me more. Her palm rested flat against my chest, right over my heart. You feel that? She said quietly. Yes. That's the problem. I haven't felt that in years. Her confession cracked something open in me. The restraint, the guilt, all of it. I reached up, covering her hand with mine. We can't stay in this in-between forever, I said. She nodded, eyes flicking to my lips, then back. So what now? I swallowed. You tell me. For a heartbeat, either of us breathed. Then she whispered, If I cross this line, I don't come back from it. Her voice trembled, but she didn't move away. I leaned closer, my forehead resting against hers. Then don't call it a line. Call it the truth. She closed her eyes. A single tear traced down her cheek. Daniel, she breathed. This isn't fair to you. Let me decide that. The space between us disappeared, not with a kiss, not yet, but with something deeper, a shared exhale, a surrender that didn't need words. Her hand slid up, fingers threading behind my neck. My thumb brushed her jaw. The air felt electric, fragile. And then, she pulled back just an inch, her voice barely a whisper. I can't ruin you to save myself. You're not ruining me, I said. You're reminding me I exist. She looked up, tears, fear, something brighter beneath both, and smiled the smallest, saddest smile I'd ever seen. And then she stepped back. Then remember me, she said. But don't stay. For a long moment I didn't move. Then, slowly, I nodded. As I reached for the door, she turned away, her reflection caught in the window, hand pressed over her heart. We'd finally understood each other. And that understanding was the very thing that would keep us apart. End of part 6. To be continued. The room was still. The storm outside had softened to a whisper, rain sliding down the window in thin silver threads. She stood near the glass, her reflection fractured by droplets. I could see her eyes even from across the room, tired, raw, searching. Neither of us spoke for a long time. Words had done too much damage already. Finally, she turned toward me. You should hate me, she said softly. I tried, I admitted. Didn't work. A flicker of something passed through her expression, relief, maybe, or disbelief. After everything I told you? Because of everything you told me, I said. You didn't hide behind anything tonight. She exhaled slowly, shoulders sinking, the fight draining out of her. You don't understand what it's like to wake up next to someone and feel like you've already disappeared. I took a step forward. Maybe I don't. But I know what it's like to see someone and feel seen for the first time. That made her close her eyes. For a heartbeat, she looked younger, not in age, but in spirit, like she'd finally let herself stop pretending. When she opened them again, I was right there. Not touching. Just close enough for our breaths to mingle. I don't know where this goes, she whispered. Neither do I said. But I know it's real. Her hand lifted, slow, uncertain, and found my face. Her palm was warm, trembling just a little. You shouldn't make promises you can't keep. I'm not, I said quietly. I'm making one I want to. For the first time that night, she smiled, small, fragile, and entirely human. She leaned in, not to kiss me, but to rest her forehead against mine. The simplest touch, and yet it felt like the whole world had narrowed down to that breath between us. We stayed like that, her eyes closed, my hands hovering at her waist, the silence saying what we couldn't. When she finally pulled back, she looked different. Lighter. Whatever happens next, she said, you've already changed something in me. I smiled faintly. You too. She let out a quiet laugh, half a sigh. You make me feel alive in quiet ways, Daniel. The sentence hung between us, the title of everything we'd almost lost. And when she finally took my hand, fingers threading through mine, it wasn't reckless. It wasn't forbidden. It just was. Two people standing in the afterglow of everything they shouldn't have felt, and choosing, for once, not to run from it. Outside, the rain stopped. Morning was breaking through the clouds, pale gold light spilling across the room, soft against her skin. Neither of us spoke again. We didn't need to. The silence said enough, that whatever came next, we'd both remember this moment as the one that made us real.